Hello and welcome back to myself and Draskell as we're ready to get ourselves into the second series of the day, Burden United versus Vega Squadron, and the draft is well underway, so get yourselves over and we'll give you a bit of a talk through what we're seeing so far coming out from both sides. Well, I say I'll let you do it, Andy. Andy, what are we seeing?
I'm sorry, I'm still caught on the whole welcome back to us thing.
To us.
And so you just said welcome back to us instead of welcome back to the, the ASUS. Never mind, it's fine. I thought it was funny. Anyway.
This is ROG DreamLeague Season 3.
There you go. All right, so Vega Squadron, they're going to start off with a Chen first pick. The last series, it was banned both games in the first two, so we never got a chance to see it. We will, in fact, get to see Vega run it here. They get Beastmaster for Mag, a hero that he has shown time and time again. He's incredibly comfortable with. It's scary to me that Burden United gave it away, but it's not like they give those heroes away for nothing. They get Gyro, still very highly favored even after the Rocket Barrage nerf, and Shadow Fiend with DK and Queen of Pain already being banned out. I think that hero is going to have an okay time in the middle lane, but Vega have also seen very early that there is kind of a susceptibility to roaming because you have this Shadow Fiend mid, you have a Gyrocopter safe lane. Neither team has really picked any supports yet, but with the Beastmaster, it always kind of has to be on the forefront of your mind is how do we punish the Shadow Fiend pick?
Indeed. Well, Burden United, they're going to drop in a Dazzle to side alongside the Gyro. Obviously, with the damage nerf to Gyro, do you think we're less likely to see it in that roaming support position?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. You're pretty much going to see primarily core now because the strength previously was you didn't really need anything on the hero to deal a substantial amount of DPS during the early game. You know, that's kind of what Gyro does. He's what people call a caster carry, so he just uses spell damage in the beginning of the game to actually have a lane presence. But nowadays, you get it cut by like 25–30%. It's not really that good. Like even in the previous match that we saw, when I think Arrow was playing the Gyrocopter in the second game.
Yes,
he did some damage, but it wasn't like, you know, there was a couple of kills maybe he would have gotten if it was the previous unnerfed version of Rocket Barrage. But
yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely, because it was that big kind of level 1 engagement, and you kind of asked yourself, well, if the damage was higher, they could have arguably won that and maybe got a kill off the back of it. But as it obviously went, they didn't. The first level 1, I think, was 2-0 to the side of VP Polar at that first initial fight. But yeah, no, it's certainly interesting to see Gyro still very popular because he, you know, over the last 3 batches, he's had a lot of nerfs. I mean, there was a change to homing missile with the mana cost, then they changed his intel so he can cast Rocket Barrage less amount of times at level 1, and now the damage has been dropped a while, but teams, they still really like the guy, and well, 4th pick's gonna be the Shadow Demon, so in terms of wombo combo, you got the SD Dazzle, and that's the potential for a lot of heal bombing there. Yeah,
it's good in lane, but it's also primarily because of the Beastmaster pickup. So, for example, when you get roared, you want to have a counterplay to that. Now, they have 2. They have Grave and they have Disruption. So it's not just like, okay, we go on the Shadow Demon and all of a sudden we can just take the fight. It's now the Shadow Demon can get graved, and then we have to worry about Gyro Shadow Demon damage, or Shadow Fiend damage, and then, you know, there's always a disruption after the fact. So Vega going for more of a punishment type of strategy where their Chen is going to have good early game impact, hopefully. I mean, that's what you pick a Chen for most of the time. And then you're going to have Vision with Hawk and the ability to glimpse heroes out of position to go for kills. So in the last series, when FNG was talking about the synergy behind Winter Wyvern and Shrek, and being able to just see the heroes all the time and be able to just throw the Arctic Burn on them at any point, it's kind of the same thing of having Beastmaster vision with Disruptor. It's like, we see this hero, we glimpse him, he's dead. You know, it's a very, very powerful synergy.
Yeah, it certainly is indeed, and we'll see what Vega decide to pick up, of course. They both need their mid laner and their position 1, as we do assume it's going to be Mag on the Beastmaster, as you were saying earlier, which is going to lead it towards being the solo lane. Ooh. And Ember Spirit is going to be picked up here. Now, this is a hero that we don't see a lot. I think we saw it a couple of times picked up in the Summit. I believe Sumail had a game where he played it, or was it RTZ? I forget. One of the sides of it.
It was played, I just don't remember which match it was.
But it didn't do well. I don't think it did not do well. And I'll be honest, it's been a long time since I've seen an Ember Spirit in competitive dominate. I mean, why pick it up here?
I think a lot of it has to do with the idea of directly engaging into Burden United's lineup. Seems difficult, right? Because they're going to have Weave. They're going to have 2 forms of saving heroes. They're going to have a Shadow Fiend who does a tremendous amount of damage, reduces your team's damage by half by using Requiem, Call Down, just mass AoE. It's a struggle to just go into that. And with Vega Squadron's lineup, they already have just said, we're not going for full-fledged teamfight. We want to be able to pick people. So in the late game, Ember's strength is that he doesn't have to commit to an engagement ever. He just Sleight of Fist spams. That's all he does. He just sits on the outskirts of the fight, he throws out Sleight of Fist, Searing Chains, and he goes to a Remnant if he gets caught. But Burden don't have really a way of holding him down. which I think is definitely a good thing in this case. Now, during the early game, Gyrocopter would be able to eat through Flame Guard with relative ease, and Shadow Fiend raises can pretty much do the same thing. But after a while, I think that Vega's late game is going to rely on the Ember Spirit just being able to chip away at Burden, and it's going to be a nightmare to go high ground just against that hero if he manages to find his farm.
And of course, worth noting as well, the nice little synergy between Ember Spirit's Remnants and Chen with the send back. You know, out of the fight, heal yourself back it, zip back straight in, and the fight continues, you're back up to full health, full mana. Yeah,
it is a very, very nice combo. Same kind of thing with Kunkka as well, like being able to X your teammates and such. So it is always something that you want to keep in mind too. But I really think Vega's draft is interesting. I mean, Burden are kind of doing a little bit of what Secret do. Okay. I guess they love their Dazzle, of course. Yeah. I mean, that's the main thing. Is like
Dazzle's very popular at the moment.
Puppy plays Dazzle like almost every freaking game or something like that. It was ridiculous, but it seems to be doing very well. So Burden looking at one more here, potentially their off lane pick. And against Vega, a team who is going for more of, they want picks. Their 5-on-5 is pretty mediocre, actually. Like compared to Burden's, I would say Burden's is much, much stronger. So I think they're going to be going for more of like a pick and push style, which is kind of ironic because they themselves ban Bounty Hunter. And I think Bounty Hunter would have fit really well for them. And they also take out the Centaur as a last ban. And Burden going to end things out with a Brew, so a hero who adds quite a bit of control. And being able to just throw up the Beastmaster or like the Chen or even Disruptor, like that can be fairly useful. Still gonna have a hard time dealing with the Ember, I think, but just having the blind to put on Ember makes it so his Sleight of Fist misses, which is extremely annoying. Makes you want to have to like buy MKB as well.
Yeah, I think in fact talking about saying to deal with the Ember, it kind of feels like we're going back to the first series of the day where you've got a hero that very much relies on mobility. In terms of lockdown, I mean, other than disruption and homing missile, which aren't really going to stop the Ember, there's not a lot to stop him zapping about.
Yeah, that's the one concern that Burden are going to have, but these two lineups function in very different ways. Burden are going to be looking for the fights. They're going to be looking for just running at towers, hitting them. They have 4 ranged heroes and a Brew. They have very good siege. They have good sustain with a Dazzle heal. They're probably going to get multiple pairs of Arcane Boots as well, so they can just keep pushing forever. Whereas Vega, they have the double Spirit combo, so
there we go.
They're looking for pickoffs. They don't really want to fight. They're going to go for the later stage in the game where the Storm Spirit and the Ember Spirit both have this kind of unkillable feeling to them where you just can't really find them. So can they get to that point, though, is the question, because I think Burden's Death Ball is going to be pretty damn strong.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what we do see come out from these two drafts. As you said, Burden looking for the strength in the laning stage, but Vega is certainly going to be one of those games that if it gets past a certain stage and it's not been going too bad for Vega, it's going to be rather hard for Burden to come back into it.
I don't know if it's like their late game is bad per se, because they do have 2 cores. Like they have Gyro Shadow Fiend. I just think that Vega's team fights in a very different way. They're like in and out. They're not looking to like run 5 versus 5. We're not going to see the same style of game that we saw VP play. You know, they're not going to be running at the enemy team for the first 20 minutes and then it's over. It's going to be kind of what can the Chen get done in the first 10 to 15 minutes? Can he find any kills? If he can't, then you're kind of going to fall into this bit of passivity, and hopefully Mag can kind of recover it with a Storm, and you use the Hawk for vision, you glimpse a couple of heroes out of position. They're going to be looking to isolate people. They're not going to be looking to take big fights at all.
Well, even so, it's definitely, as you're saying, a fun draft from Vega. It's something, I can't remember the last time we've seen a Storm and Ember picked up in tandem.
No, I can't either, actually.
A very rare combination.
I don't think, outside of that one random game at the Summit, I haven't seen Ember very much at all.
So, I mean, that is, I guess, is the other question really to think about. Actually, who was it? 9Pass you picked up the Ember. Are we going to see? It was just safe lane Ember and mid lane Storm. Okay, rather than the other way around. Because they could have done it both ways round, but I guess obviously Storm being the stronger mid laner, it's best to play to that strength. Yeah.
I think Vega will struggle a bit though. There's this time like 15, 25 minutes around there where Burden's lineup, it's going to be so hard to fight them. Like they're going to have to rely on Burden to get picked off, or the laning phase for Vega has to go like extremely well. And now Shadow Fiend versus Storm, which is probably the matchup we're going to see, isn't too bad for either hero. I think Storm has a slight edge for a while, but Shadow Fiend, he's always going to find farm, right? And then you're going to have off-lane Beastmaster. Mag always plays great in his off-lane. And then safe lane Ember Spirit. But I don't know, man. I think Vega's lineup can work. It's just a very big risk, I think, that they're taking by picking these two heroes that it's not that they can't 5-man. It's that Burden's 5-man is clearly better.
Okay, well, talking about Burden, let's have a look what they're doing here. Level 1 smoke up for the side. Come with me on the Shadow Demon. Paris on the Brewmaster. You've got Sing Sing on his Gyrocopter. And that, of course, leaves... we'll have a look, actually, how that thought, because they're heading forward into the jungle looking for some kind of action. Seema the Slayer did head out to get that rune ward out, but he's able to get himself back safely. Finally, that does leave Paris on the Brewmaster and My Nuts on the Dazzle. Necroman, indeed, on that Shadow Fiend. And then, what are we seeing from the side of Vega?
Well, first here we're going to have a Mag. He's going to be handling that Beastmaster with his boar closely behind him solo. He's going to be playing Chen. We're going to have no one playing the Storm Spirit, Seema on Disruptor, and then finally Pasha is going to be playing the Ember Spirit. And I'm thinking it's pretty fortunate that Burden didn't just immediately deward, because I think they saw Seema for like a split second. Maybe they didn't. Like, I thought they saw, maybe not. But being able to deward that rune would be pretty nice for them. And unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. But Bounty Rune secured for the Shadow Fiend, Bounty Rune secured for the Storm. So both mids pretty much getting equal treatment here.
Indeed, an interesting movement that's coming at the moment from the side of Burden. Sing Sing's heading down to the bottom lane on his own, and the two supports, they're heading up top with Brew for the time being.
Aggro trialing with a Brew. It's a very strong lane. A Burden definitely wanting to punish the fact that there's a Chen in this game. Like, they want the Chen to come to their lane because it's so unbelievably hard to gank it. If the Chen goes mid...
Look at this, bottom lane in the jungle. Sing Sing's found Seema. He does manage to get one Rocket Barrage out.
Wait, he started with boots? Wow, okay.
Well, it paid off there. Maybe without boots, he could have gone down.
I think Vega are doing the right thing, though. They're dodging the aggro tri-lane of Burden. There's no way this lane can contest. They're just going to send Mag up there and see if he can find whatever. The supports can harass Solo a tiny bit. Also depends on what creeps he gets. He could probably be a bit of a nuisance here, but still, keeping the Chen in the area is still a win for Burden because it means that Shadow Fiend gets his 1v1 versus the Storm, and eventually the Storm will fall behind on CS.
Oh, yeah,
he's got the Harpy Zephyr.
As we can hear from Shane, pointing out the fact that now with the base HP change, 700 HP on a Harpy Stormcrafter, that's not fun.
It's actually the strongest Harpy I've ever seen in my life.
That's
all right, that creep
crazy.
Just won the lane.
Well, thanks, Ice Frog. That's. I mean, what do you do against that? This is.
You get zapped. That's what you do. A lot, apparently, because it only costs 50 mana. So he's just like taken all of Sakshika's health at this point. See a little bit of trading going on bottom here as well.
I mean, that's got to be the best level 1 creep to get now on chat.
Yeah, it is.
Well,
it was before too.
Yes.
Because you could send it to a lane and just do that.
But it could die. Now it's got 700 HP.
But normally what you would do is you would send it to mid and you would just zap the Shadow Fiend. But like you said, it would have died if you sent it to the lane in the safe lane before. But it's able to tank up all that damage, and now it's just like, well, all of a sudden we are just going to rotate our supports out.
Seema's picked himself an Invis Rune on this Disruptor. Will spot out My Nuts hits himself and the Ember Spirit. Ember Spirit, how are we doing in terms of levels? At level 2 at the moment. As the Flame Guard and Searing Chains, it's just going to TP actually out of this lane and towards the top. So, as you were saying, musical lanes continuing between both the sides, which is actually, interesting enough, leaving the Disruptor on his own at the bottom at the moment. Mag is still in the top lane alongside the Ember Spirit.
And I still think this favors Vega.
Swaps over now.
Like that Chen did so much work with just the one creep that he actually forced the entire rotation of Burden to go bottom. Like the 2 supports leaving that lane is a huge boon for Vega because Ember is not really that good of a safe laner, especially up against a Gyro, for crying out loud. Like he can eat through the Flame Guard, no problem. And you don't want to put Pasha in a position where he's going to be pressured in the first place, because if your Storm and your Ember have a good early game, that is your entire game plan, is to make sure that these 2 heroes have a good start. Now, sure, you're going to have Mag in the mid game looking for his Roar pickoffs and having his Hawk Vision, but that just adds to the synergy of your lineup. So the fact that Pasha right now and No One are both top farmers is definitely great news.
And dude, 3 minutes and a half in, even though there's been a lot of rotations and respect to each side's lanes, no one's gone down yet. And no one looking to be in too much danger. Obviously, the side of Burden United, they have the killing potential with the Shadow Demon and the Dazzle, which they've got bottom at the moment. But it's going to be hard to catch out Mag here, because, as we were saying earlier, someone that knows the strengths of Beastmaster, and I don't think he's going to get caught out too easily.
No, definitely not. The other thing, too, that we neglected to mention is since the lanes have gone back into both teams focusing on their safe lane, means that Solo is going to have a lot more room to move around. Like, he doesn't have to sit top lane anymore. He can go try to gank Necroman with a smoke. He's kind of wandering towards the rune right now, just securing it for his mid player. But if he wants to, him and Seema can gank much more effectively than a Shadow Demon and a Dazzle can. Like, that ganking combo is not very good. Like, you might be able to line up a Raze or two, but when the Storm hits 6, ganking him is pretty much impossible for Burden's lineup, and then they're going to have to wait until some key item timings to try to get their 5-man going.
Towards the mid lane, come with me, heading forward. He's going to drop a disruption down here as the Shadow Fiend gets in position for the raises. No one will try and juke it out. The third raise going through. The right clicks is going to be enough. Oh, he's still alive. 70 HP. Will be able to bottom himself.
That was their one chance too. That was a nighttime gank. Like, come with me actually timed that perfectly. The unfortunate part was the Dazzle was not that close, and now he hits 6 and he goes back in.
Ooh, they're baiting it there. They do have the heal from minus, but it doesn't matter. He still finds it. No one there gets first blood on Necroman. Heads back behind the tower. The poison will connect. They do bring him down in return. And at the same time, Burden United, they find the kill on the bottom lane. Solo kill for Sing Sing there. So they give away first blood, but they find 2 kills in return, and they get a solo kill on their position 1.
Yeah, a little bit better for Burden. It's still bad, though, that your Shadow Fiend gets killed like that. Like, 1v3, the Storm gets the kill. Like, that was the timing where they should have been able to kill him instead. Had the Dazzle been even a little bit closer, Necroman wouldn't have died in the first place, and Burden would have been in a much, much better situation than they are right now. But either way, I think it's not, maybe not too bad. The one concern is Pasha still just, like, totally free farming up here. No one is really going to be able to pressure him. So, yeah, it's... I don't know, it's kind of scary, I think, for Burden. They're going to get their 5-man going once the Brew hits 6, once the Shadow Fiend. I'm guessing he's going to go mech this game.
Look at this wraparound. They know that Paris is hiding somewhere in the trees. Seema the Slayer coming in along with Solo. They're looking for him desperately. Paris, he's just chilling. Oh, they've found him. There's your Centaur Stomp starting off with a Thunder Strike. The party ring is dropped, but Paris looking for the crits onto Solo. Is it going to be enough as Pasha comes in with a Sleight Fist, finishes him off. Poison flying through onto Solo on the Chen. Maybe they can look to find Chen. It's a little bit scary because in comes the Ember Spirit. There'll be disruption holding him back. And now the glimpse on to Come With Me, bringing the Shadow Demon back into the middle of this all. There's going to be Minus trying to heal up and protect Come With Me with a Shallow Grave, but no one's rotated in as well. He'll kill the Dazzle. They'll lose the Shadow Demon as well. 2 kills there for the side of Vega as they do a little bit of the old wraparound onto the wraparound.
Yeah, very nice movement. I'm surprised that Come With Me went up there at all. Like, he was not saving Sakshka, like, no way. Like, not even close. He was dead way before he was even in the area, so I'm kind of surprised why they would go that hard. I'm just trying to find a Chen kill. Fortunately, Sing doesn't really seem to need any help. Like, he's level 6 right now in bottom lane. Mag's still soaking some experience, but the lane is definitely being dominated by the Gyrocopter.
Top lane, look at this. Paris nearly finding Pasha. He can't quite get in because of the field holding him back, and now Pasha turns it around with the Remnants, blows him up. Pasha playing on the edge of his life there, but gets away with it and finds himself a kill onto the Ember Spirit. 2 kills, 2 assists at the moment, 7 minutes in for the Ember.
And he's the highest CS as well, so getting those kills, having 44, 45 creep kills at 7 minutes in, he is having the time of his life. He's got his bottle already. So all he needs is a Chen send home and 1 Spirit, and he'll be able to just be back in fighting shape. And the cool thing about that is since you have the Chen who can send you home, you always have a TP for any other lane that gets ganked. So for example, if they dive Mag, an Ember Spirit TPing is actually very, very dangerous for a lot of these teams because he can Sleight of Fist in, he can Remnant forward, you get 1 Searing Chains, it's like automatically a counter kill.
UBC Solo just continues to farm up. He's found his level 6 and 1,000 gold now on top of the round boots. The Chen having a pretty good game on top of the activity that he was able to pull off in the earlier few minutes. Mag halfway through level 5 on his way to getting that Primal Roar online, and no one is going to grab himself the 8-minute rune here. Is it going to be anything good for a gank potential? It's going to be the bounty rune. Top lane, Shadow Fiend will find himself a haste, and we'll have that up and ready for a potential bit of action if anything kicks off. Storm's actually continues to look for something down here. He's found the Shadow Demon, and with the ball from Mag helping out as well, Shadow Demon's going to go down. There'll be a retaliation fight with Sing Sing with the cooldown, but of course no one. Zips straight out. He is now out of mana. The raise is coming through from Necroman, and here's your haste rune. It provides him the ability to get into position for those raises, and they do get the Storm Spirit in return. So all in all, the trade very much favoring the side of Burden.
Trading the mid for a support, never great, but still, I think Vega are doing a lot better in the laning phase than I had imagined. And again, a lot of that's just due to the Chen. We talked about it. It's like, what can the Chen do? He hasn't really ganked per se. Like, he's harassed a lot, and he ended up getting up 1 kill, I think, on Sakshka when he was stuck in the trees. But I think he would have been dead anyway, even if it was just Seema and Pasha in that area. But still, the way the game's going right now, Vega are getting everything that they need out of the laning phase, but we still have yet to see what Burden are going to be able to do when the 5-man Dota hits. Like, that's what their team, I think, is best at. And Vega not wanting to let that happen, they're going to be pushing into the tier 1 in the offlane.
Fortification will come out. Burden United, they've only got the Shadow Demon and the Dazzling Toe here. So it doesn't look like they're going to be able to do anything too much to stop this aggression coming out from the side of Vega, as they will get away with taking this tower mid lane. We're going to see Parish trying to find himself a bit of XP up against this Storm Spirit. Still yet to hit level 6 here on this Brewmaster. He's just over halfway through the 5 at the moment. And the top tower goes down, and a bit more gold here in the pockets for the side of Vega. And in terms of individual hero net worth, we can see no one on the Storm Spirit at the top, but very closely followed by both the Shadow Fiend, the Gyro, and then in return the Ember Spirit. So all in all, still a very close game between these two sides.
Yeah, I think for a 5-man lineup, it's okay to be even in net worth and gold before you're 5-manning, right? Because we don't have the Brewmaster split yet, so they're not going to be using the Brewmaster to 5-man. He does have 1,000 gold, so yeah, like you were saying, he's getting a little bit closer to the Blink Dagger. If he can get there before they start 5-manning, I think they take the tier 1s maybe with relative ease, because they're going to have the capability of split, call down, they're going to have shallow grave, a lot of ways to save people, more or less. And Sing getting glimpse.
Indeed, into the Static Storm as well with the Primal Roar. There's not a lot of hope for this Gyro. He will go down. Paris went for a very aggressive route round, and now here we go with the Primal Split. The stun onto Seema. He's trying to find a kill return, but Hand of God topping Disruptor back up, and everyone on the side of Vega here looking to find the Brew. Remnant forward. Will Brew be able to bring down the Seema, the Slayer? He will do. He finds himself a kill, but he's almost certainly going to be paying with his life as he's caught in by all 3 of them on the side of Vega. They just hack away at Paris. Brewmaster will fall down to the Chen here, and it ends up being a 3-for-1 trade, so the aggression from Burden really not worth it in the long run.
Now, these types of trades, in any game it would be bad for Burden to trade a 3-for-1, but with their kind of lineup, trading a 3-for-1 is horrible, and you commit split to that on top of everything else, and all you get out of it is a Disruptor kill. You don't even kill the tier 1. I think maybe they're feeling a little bit pressured, and they should, because of the way that Vega have played in the early game. It's just, these types of trades are not going to work. Like, you can't commit to a tower that heavily, especially against a Chen lineup who can just turn around and punish you for it by taking your own safe lane tier 1. Saw a little bit of engagement happening mid, but no one is more than okay, as it's very hard for Burden to lock him down after him now being level 6, unless he runs out of mana. But yeah, they're going to get the safe lane tier 1. Vega looking really strong here so far.
Indeed, 2 tier 1s off the board. They do lose the mid tower, but they were able to get the deny there from Disruptor. So, of course, tower gold and progression very much favouring the side of Vega.
It's S4 rune number 2.
What's the game plan here for Burden United? So we were saying they did have the stronger team fight with a full 5-on-5, but when a lead like this is created by Vega, you start to lose that advantage you have simply through the draft.
Yeah, your 5-man is not going to feel as good if you're not... Like, your first couple of engagements are very important, and also the Chen impact on the side of Vega is very important, because if all you want to do is group up and fight, that's fine, but the Chen forced your entire tri-lane to leave the top lane, let Pasha free farm, he gets kills, and this could be the first real 5-man we're going to see here.
Yeah, Sing, he's hanging right around. There's a TP in from no one that goes straight off the Gyrocopter. There's a Static Storm onto Minus. A big cooldown, they're catching 3 at the side of Vega as they try and back off. They do lose the Disruptor, but they did already find the kill on Sing. Necroman with the haste rune, trying to chase down both Storm and the Ember Spirit. There's a bit of a wraparound potential from Mag. He's got the Primal Roar available. He's looking. Who's he going to focus with the ult? He goes for the Shadow Demon. He doesn't want him disrupting anyone, saving anyone. Shallow Grave is not available, so Shadow Demon will fall there. So all in all, very nice play from Vega. Maybe they find more Minus. He's going to go for the TP, will be able to get himself out of there. And they do lose Chen, though, to the split in the Radiant jungle. So it's a 2-for-2, but it's 2 supports down on Vega, and it's a support and your position 1 down on Burden.
Yeah. Man, they're using split just to kill a hero. Like, I agree with the idea of killing him, and I think that using a split for it is actually okay, but it's kind of painful to think that you have to split to kill a Chen, right? Like, normally you would want to always be saving your split for the engagements. And he goes Midas, he doesn't even go blink. I don't know. Maybe they're just saying that they can't win the fight. Maybe they're just making that concession. They say, since having a Blink Dagger might not allow us to really take the 5 versus 5 the way we want, maybe we want to just have a better transition for the Brew, but I don't know if I agree with this choice. Like, I really think that like just having the capability of going on the back line, like catching out the Disruptor could be really big in a team fight. Like, for example, when you saw Minots get caught up by the Static Storm, sure, he immediately graved himself, but that's because he knew that he was going to get the entire kitchen sink dropped on him.
Well, mid lane, the push from Vega as they group up and they're ready to take themselves the final tier 1 off the side of Burden United. And they certainly will do it, and they'll get away with it as well. No one on the side of Burden United looking to fight up against this push, and it looks like Vega know that. They might even look to pressurize the tier 2 now as they're ready to continue the aggression here in the mid lane. And now the TP's come back from Burden United. Let's see if they're able to fight into this one. They don't have split though, indeed, as we saw. It was used for that solo kill on to the support of Vega. There'll be disruption onto Pasha. Static Storm very nicely dropped there, stopping anyone follow up any damage onto the Ember, and they're able to back themselves off here, Vega.
That was a really good decision to back as well, because Necroman had just finished up the mech. So if they chose to fight into that, it would have been a much harder engagement than I think they were expecting. And Smoke is going to dodge the Boar Vision here. They're not going to be able to see it. Oh, Pasha walks right into him, but has a retreat remnant. Okay, everything's fine. Everything is fine. And that medallion timing. Both Disruptor and Dazzle get it at the exact same time.
Yeah, and the mech pairing as well. As Shadow Fiend picks it up, Chen gets his as well.
Apparently it doesn't matter if you're ahead or behind, the timings are pretty much in sync, but I still feel Vega have a slight advantage here. Not massive, but big enough to the point where I think Burden, they need to be able to win like 1 or 2 engagements. The Midas for me though, the fortunate part for Paris, or Asakshka, is that he's, well, they're catching Pasha here.
Has he got something to remnant out to? That is the question, and he does.
Oh, he does.
We go.
Okay.
We'll be able to back himself up, and the homing missile flies through, but Pasha, with the phase and the drums, pretty down speedy, will be able to get himself back to safety.
Yeah, I saw his remnants on cooldown, and I thought, oh my god, does he actually not have one to go back to this time? But turns out that was the second remnant that was on cooldown, because he already had one out. But still, secures the tier 1 for Burden. Nice little move there, making sure that the Ember can't commit to the fight, but they are getting counter-pressured in the middle lane. So they're not going to get that tier 1 for free.
Ooh, the missile and the cooldown onto Seema the Slayer. Pasha on the Ember Spirit trying to turn it around. Seema the Slayer taking down to the Poison Touch. It won't be enough. He will be able to keep himself alive. 9 Pasha just left on his own here to defend a bit against the full 5-man of Burden United, because the rest of Vega, they're pushing down the mid lane. They're on the tier 3. Burden United, they do realize, and now they get out. Pasha, he's fighting up against the Gyro and the Dazzle here. Will remnant himself back out. Doesn't want to stick around in my nuts and Sing Sing. And still Vega, they're getting the advantageous aggression. You know, they get the tier 2 and they get a fair bit of damage onto the tier 3. They only lose the tier 1 in the bottom.
I mean, a bit, that thing's almost dead. It's less than a third health, though. Orchid now picked up here, going right onto the Brewmaster.
That's a kill.
Yeah. I mean, now, if I were Burden right now, I'd be like, we need to group, like, all the time. Unfortunately, that delays the Blink Dagger from the Brew, and his Midas is off cooldown when he's dead. So he's not going to be able to go for the Blink as fast as I think he wanted it to. I was going to mention before the fight kind of broke out bottom that even though he bought Midas, his Blink timing for an offlaner still isn't that bad in conjunction with him already having a Midas. But that death also kind of sets him back. And I thought that they picked the Brewmaster for Drunken Haze for the Ember, but he's not skilled it yet. And I guess the Sleight of Fist isn't that prevalent at this point in the game. It's mostly just Searing Chains, the Flame Guard, and the Fire Rim dealing damage. But sooner or later, I would imagine he'll invest some points into it just to stop that damage output.
No one's smoking up, looking for those solo pickoffs, and he's going to go straight on to Come With Me with the Orchid. Very easy pickoff there for the Storm Spirit, now on a dominating kill streak, 18 minutes in. There'll be a little bit of a glimpse down, and it's Static Storm dropped onto Paris, and with the backup from 9 Pasha, I think this is your Brewmaster going down as well. 1,800 gold down to 1,500 gold, loses 300 on his climb to the Blink Dagger there.
This is really bad. Like, he can't keep dying. If he keeps dying like that, he never gets a blink. I mean, heck, they're going to get Roshan right now for Vega, and they can just give it to the Storm. They already have a hard enough time killing him. That's why Vega are able to play so aggressive. Between the two spirits, like the cores, it's very similar to what we saw Weaver do, like when Illidan played it in the first series. It just they can't kill the spirits. How do they lock them down? How do they actually put them in a position where they can go aggressive and find kills? Burden's draft would have been very nice if they had managed to come out of the laning phase unscathed and just say, okay, yeah, we're going to start at 5-man, our Shadow Fiend has mech, we get Blink on the Brew, we fight. That strategy to me seemed very sound. But the Chen in the early game had pushed their tri-lane out of the way, so Ember and the Storm both could get 1v1 matchups, or favorable lanes at the very least, because no one was doing very well against Necroman in the beginning. Like CS-wise, I think he was doubling up, or maybe even more than that at some point. And wow, okay, he just wants to kill that Brew.
Onto the Brew again, and how much money is Paris going to lose this time? It goes down, they do have a shallow grave, but now Pasha comes in, he wants to fight Sing Sing and Minus. The cooldown will be dropped, isn't going to catch on to anyone. 9Pash trying to walk himself out, Necroman is there with the punches. Pasha will be able to get himself up to the high ground, and no one's going to go down here. They did lose the tier 2 on the bottom lane, as Vega looks like they're going to regroup and maybe just continue pushing here on this bottom lane.
I love that ball. He gets sent back to base, so he just balls in, uses the remaining portion of his mana. I guess he was trying to deal a little bit of damage, but didn't quite have enough in the tank to make it to the base. Still though, I mean, Vega understand the limits of their lineup very well. They know that, hey, we got 2 cores that can't be killed pretty much. So we just need to continue to play aggressive, make sure that Burden don't find their space to farm, keep Paris away from his Blink Dagger as long as you possibly can. I mean, he'll be probably 11, I think, before they have to defend a tier 3, and he should have his Blink because he's only 100 gold away from it right now. But the Ember is closing in on Battle Fury. The Storm already has Orchid and another item being sent out to him right now. I guess he's going for the Bloodstone. And that's book 3 for Mag as well, so yeah, everything coming up for Vega. And I don't know if this is like off, or how accurate this is, but I want to say Mag has had book 3 by 20 minutes in like every single game, no matter what. He just has it at 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, there are certain teams that really favor the Beastmaster pick and really know what they're doing with it, and Vega and Mag, it's one of the combinations that you've got to think a little bit carefully about if you want to let him have it, because he is literally a beast on the hero.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to me that no matter what the circumstances are, like he gave up a 1v1 kill, which I'd say is fairly uncommon for him. He typically knows how to play the lane, but even with that, and being in an unfavored situation, he still manages to get a book 3 timing at 20 minutes. And that's still terrifying for Burden. Like, book 3 is insane. It pretty much just straight up kills the Dazzle or the Shadow Demon. I mean, they're going to be pressuring the tower here.
I was going to say, Burden United, they're heading towards the tier 2, but I don't think you out-push Vega's lineup.
No, definitely not. Not with Inner Beast, level 2, Necro book 3. There's no way. Like, they're going to have to back to defend.
See the TP back from Come With Me now. Minus follow. They do get themselves back, but the damage is already up onto the high ground, onto the tier 3. Look at this tower just absolutely melt here in the base of Burden United. Are they going to be able to stop this? They're onto the racks. Oh, no. Oh, the glimpse onto Necroman, sending him back straight up the mid lane. That's your Shadow Fiend out of this defense. They'll drop the cooldown, but the racks they drop, and now they look for a kill onto Minus. They will find it. Shadow Fiend's having to take the long route back down the mid lane, and you got to be careful TPing him when there's a disruptor. And the Shadow Demon actually disrupting, saving him there from the homing missile. Things are certainly falling apart here for Burden.
And now Necroman doesn't know if he actually wants to go back to base, and he's going to get caught again by another glimpse.
The Orchid stopping the Requiem. Pasha does take a homing missile to the head, but the mech's there to counteract the damage. And as you said, now he's got enough money to finish off that battlefield. 22 minutes in, on top of the phase, the drums, and the Aquila. This is... Let's have a look at the graphs. What kind of difference are we seeing in terms of gold and XP between these sides? Because it's got to be pretty hefty. Yeah, 14,000.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
The gold is really the biggest difference. The experience isn't so bad, but it's more a matter of we've lost all our outer tier towers and our top racks at 22 minutes in, and they just tap out. Yeah, 22 minutes in. So the biggest concern that I had going into the game for Vega was their ability to make it to the, like, past the laning phase before the 5-man started kicking in and being like this really big, terrifying force. Because if you look at the lineup of Burden, they have 2 really good defensive supports who can just sit in the back. You got Gyrocopter, Brewmaster, and Shadow Fiend for your frontline heroes, which is pretty good frontline, right? Especially against, when you're thinking about 5-man Dota, Storm typically doesn't want to have to fight 5 versus 5 until he has like 1 or 2 items up. Like, you want to have Orchid so you can actually, you know, be a threat to his support. Or do you want a Bloodstone so you're tankier? But because of how good of a start that Vega had, and I got to give props to Solo because he was the one who applied a lot of pressure during the laning phase. It's like without that, I think Burden would have had a much better opportunity to win this game. I don't even think it was that big of a drafting issue, and maybe the Midas pickup was a little bit greedy from Sakshka. Like I see why he bought it, but I think that having the earlier blink timing still would have allowed him to not have to play so greedy in the woods, because he died like what, 2 or 3 times in a row? Because he had Midas.
Yeah, because they kept finding him with the
he knew he had to get blink, so he's like, I'm just going to farm and try to find my blink, and then he dies like a bunch more, and then all of a sudden Vega are just like snowball, and then you get glimpse mid and you lose the game.
Yep, and yet another sub 25-minute game. 22 minutes in, we have a victory there from Vega today, so it's going pretty quickly, Andy.
Yeah, I said Vega were going to 2-0.
Which is, you know, we do like to see a bit longer games, but at the same time, easier work for us here at DreamLeague, so keep them coming, boys. We've got one more game coming up today. It's going to be the second in this series between the sides of Vega and Burden, and hopefully we'll see something a little bit closer. But from us here at the casting panel, that is it until the next game. So we'll see you guys later. Send you over some commercials and over to our hosts. See you in a bit.